Hi everyone, Dr. Mohammed Furkan again. So today I'm going to talk about what are the requirements for effective segmentation. If you go to the Philip Kotler's book, Principles of Marketing, Philip Kotler, Gary Armstrong, and uh, Bala Subramanian's books, the latest 19th edition, you will see there are some requirements or prerequisites how two or more segments need to be differentiated based on the groups of consumer needs, wants, and demands differences. Uh, what like how they are different from each other, how one segment's needs, wants, and demands different from each other. Now, what are the like um, strategic requirements or prerequisites that we need to consider as a marketeer in order to distinguish a group of segment needs, wants, and demands from other groups. Because segmentation is not just an idea; it's a strategic process or of marketing strategy, right? So which needs like dedicated amount of time, resources, and capabilities to invest in order to effectively serve and unique segments, needs, wants, and demands. So we need to understand as a marketeer what are the requirements for effective segmentation. So we can classify the requirements as a list of 4 items. One is measurable. First requirement is measurable. Second, meaningfulness, stable, and actionable. Now, let's start with an example so that we can understand these 4 items of requirements for effective segmentation. Measurable means the two or more different segments, they have to have a statistical significant difference. Now, I know this is from statistics, so I'll not go to the statistics details that much. I'll try to make it clear with conceptual explanation. So, a statistical difference means, say, if you go to a department aisle in Walmart or Waze, Wegman, or Whole Goods, Publix, Trader Joe's, etc. in the US, you will see if you go to the pharmaceutical aisles, cold and cough medicine section, you will see cold and cough medicines. Those are targeted uh, 2 or more types of cold and cough medicine. Some of those are targeted towards sour throat and uh, congestional reliefs, uh, symptoms related cold and cough medicines, and other types of cold and cough medicine. Those are related to headaches, pain, and muscle aches, etc. So, how pharmaceutical companies who bring these 2 different types of cold and cough medicine, how they come up to the decision to produce 2 different types of cold and cough medicine for 2 groups of segments. So, the idea is these 2 groups of people, if you before running any products in the market, research and development teams, they conduct some research. So in a survey, if they ask a question, how important it is to you that cold and cough medicine relieves, say, pain, fever, sour throat, and congestion issues. Say you give these four options to the participants, and you collected survey data from 200 participants, and you got, say, um, 2 different groups of survey participants. One group who said pain and fever reliefs are the core things that they want from cold and cough medicine. And the other group of survey participants, they said sour throat and congestion reliefs are their interest in a particular cold and cough medicine. So if you get 2 mean values for these 2 groups of people, they have to be statistically significant from each other. Now, how they are statistically significant? What are the discussion point on that aspect. Those are a statistical discussion. We'll keep it for a different video, but we have to understand that they have to have different mean values and they have to be statistically significant. So these are statistically significant means usually the rule of thumb value is the p-value. There is a term called p-value. It has to be less than 0.05, which means if you run 100 different samples survey, and out of those 95% or more times you should get mean values. Those should be similar to the value that you get at this current survey at your hand, right? So that's the kind of statistical significance idea. Now, second criteria requirements for effective segmentation is meaningfulness. Now, in statistical significance test, there is an n value, which is the number of observations, and it is assumed that if you have number of observations which is 1,000 or more, so because of the larger sample size, you might get statistical significance, but ideally, maybe in reality, these two groups of survey participants, they are not maybe statistically significant. So because of the larger number of sample value, um, larger number of sample size, right, you might get statistical significance. So that's why you have to use your knowledge, skill set as an practitioner and as an expert in marketing, whether these meaning statistical significant are meaningful or not. So in this case, if you see that a group of cold and cough sufferers, they frequently face sour throat related issue and congestional issue, and other groups of people, they frequently face headaches, pain, and muscle aches related issue, then you get statistical significance. Along with that, you also know that theoretically from real world that those two groups are meaningfully different from each other. The third criteria is it has to be stable. So stable here means permanentness. So what does it mean? The difference between these two groups, they should be different in the long run, not in a transient period, right? So say for example, a group of people who works in factory, do laborious works in farms, because of the nature of their job and hard works and laborious jobs, when season change, usually when we fall suffer in cold and cough related symptoms. So these groups of people will always mostly face pain, headaches, and muscle related issues. Now, other groups of people who have like allergy and throat related issues, when they suffer in cold and cough, usually they will suffer in congestion, runny nose, and throat related issues. So as you can see from this example, two groups of the first groups of people, they suffer more with pain, headaches, and muscle aches. Second groups of people, they suffer throat related issues, congestional issues. So these difference anytime uh, one groups of these segments, when they suffer with the same symptoms. So that makes it more stable symptoms criteria, and which is different from the other groups of cold and cough sufferers. So that makes it stable. The fourth criteria is actionable. Now, the actionable thing is interesting because since we are seeing based on consumers' needs, wants, and demands, there are different economic, behavioral, psychological, psychometric, and other fact based on other factors. Consumers, groups of consumer needs, wants, and demands vary. Now, say for the same cold and cough example, do you think is it feasible that for every types of gender, men and women, and every types of college student, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and different types of athletes versus non-athletes, groups of teens, do pharmaceutical company need to bring a separate cold and cough medicine? And do they need to bring separate cold and cough medicine for different stages of life cycle? The answer is no, because it will not be feasible. So a pharmaceutical company, based obviously they have R&D department, they do research, market research to understand consumer needs, wants, and demands. and differences in their desire and need for products and service. But the thing is, if the first three criteria, measurable, meaningfulness, and stable differences exist between two groups of consumer needs wants and demands for a particular product, then firms also need to consider, is it feasible to produce uh, for every different kind of segment that is possible in the world for a particular product? Do they need to bring separate products and marketing mix? Answer is no. It has to be based on like some meaningful and statistically significant, meaningful and stable differences. And also it need to make sense to the marketeer, to the expert in the field, right? So these are the four different criteria based on which a marketeer, a marketing manager, and the marketing team of a company decide how like about their targeted segments and the bundle of benefits that they will bring, the marketing mix that they will bring to satisfy the needs, wants, and demands, those particular segments. I hope it helps. Thank you so much.